So while I am waiting for the head to cool down enough for me to root the eyelashes, I'd like to mention that I double varnish my dolls to make sure that the paint stays. Regardless, you can do just the matte varnish that's heat set, but I also use this air dry varnish after the matte varnish. Uh, it's called Soft Touch Americana. Um, I just, again, to make it sure I'm safe with them and no one can't say that I didn't varnish them correctly. I varnished twice. So first, like I said, with the heat set, and then with that one, which has the purple label. That's the only one I trust. I've been told by other artists to use only that one. So again, it's Americana Decor Soft Touch Varnish. So you mix that with equal parts water. I'm mixing mine in a little cup. And then you brush it on similar like to the matte varnish, and you just blot it on and let it dry. It dries like within 30 minutes max. So I do that while I'm waiting for the head to cool down just enough so I can root the eyelash, because you don't want it to cool down all the way, because then the vinyl gets too hard. So yeah. Okay, so his head is cool enough to go ahead and root the eyebrows. So, I mean, not the eyebrows, the eyelashes, sorry. So, you get a small section of your hair, and this is how I do it. I twist it, and I loop the strands of hair to form a little loop. And then I have my needle, which I think is a 42 gauge crown needle. And basically, I don't know how to show this. It's kind of weird positioning. So basically, you're going to line it up to where you're wanting the hairs to go, and you're basically just going to stab it in there. So I don't know a great positioning to show you guys how I do it. Gosh, this is hard. Because usually I root in my lap. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I can't really show you guys, I don't think. But basically, you're lining it up to where you want the hairs to go, and then you're stabbing them in, making sure they go into the crease of where the eye actually is. So, let me turn on the light. His head's still a little too warm, actually, to root the hairs because they won't stay quite. But there is one hair that did make it in, but again, you cannot see it on this camera. I swear. That's gonna be my Christmas gift to myself, as an actual camera, not like the stupid video camera that I got that didn't actually have good quality. But he has one little hair that made it in, but he's still too warm, so I'm gonna have to wait a couple more minutes, I think. But basically, like I said, I'll try to do it this way. Let's see if I can angle it to you guys. Basically, you're lining it up with that loop. You see that loop line up on against the eye, and then you just stab in. Oh, look, it actually left the hair. Again, you can't see it really that well. I hope I'm explaining this correctly. If not, you can always go look at someone who has better quality video for rooting, because it's the same technique, it's just for the eyelashes. But I like this loop because it really gets the hairs in where you want them to. So that's why I loop it like this. So I'll keep doing that until I get as many hairs in that I would like for the eyelashes, and then I'll come back and I'll trim them for you guys. So as you see, I've got his eyelashes all rooted. It literally takes about 5 minutes to do. I will never go back to doing those really bad looking applied lashes. They just look so horrible and dolly, and I hate them. And they're so hard to put in too. That was my oven. So now before I trim, I'm gonna glue in these hairs just so that when I'm cutting, it doesn't pull out the hairs. And if you root too many hairs into one hole, you can easily get your tweezers and pull that hair out before you glue it in. So the glue that I use for the hair is called Gem Tack, and it's supposed to be, I think this is the right one that I grabbed. Yes. So Gem Tack is waterproof, and I use it to seal all the hair. So when I do rooted hair as well, most artists will use either Gem Tack or E6000, but E6000 is too strong for this for me. I use E6000 for the magnets, which is another step that I'll do after the eyebrows. So I do the eyebrows almost last because I want to make sure the surface is fully matte because I use Prismacolors and they go on only smoothly with a very matte surface that it can grab onto. So that's that. So while the glue for the eyelashes, which is inside the head, by the way, I use this to get the glue inside the head and glue the hairs down on the inside. I will then take my clear gloss varnish that I got from, where did I get this from? It's the Art Magic Waterborne set. So this is an air dry gloss varnish, and this is the last step the last step that'll go on the nails and the toenails and the lips and inside the ear and on the eyelid and around the nose. I'll show you. Gloss goes everywhere. But first, right now, since what is already dry and has been varnished with my air dry varnish, the hands have been already dried set with the varnish with the air dry varnish. So I'll go ahead and do the nails on that. Okay, so I feel like the glue has dried sufficiently enough for me to trim without pulling out hairs. So I'm going to really look from above. Let me turn on the light. Okay. So I'm basically going to look from above. And first I'm going to do a big chop. Just a big chop to get me started. Sometimes you have to pick up some of the hairs. So you see how I basically chopped off like half of that at first. That's what I do. And then the smaller trims after this. Now this is where it gets delicate because you don't want to trim too short. So I do a little at a time and go across very carefully, trimming only what I really want to trim. Now, eyelashes are usually longer towards the edge, so then I'll start making that little progress happen. It's kind of like a gradient, goes larger towards the edges. This is how I do it. I'm sure other people do it other ways. But I'll continue to work at them. You see how they're already getting where I want them to. So I'll keep working at them until I get them exactly how I want them. But that's pretty much it. You just got to look at them and eyeball them and really trim them how you think, how long they should be. By looking down, switching the angles. So I went ahead and gave him eyebrows off camera because I am not confident with eyebrows yet and don't want to steer you guys wrong. But basically I just used the Prisma pencil. And then I'm going to seal them in a second with the air dry varnish. But he's pretty much done, except for the gloss that will go on his lips, on that pink right there on his eyelid, his nose, and his ears. And then a magnet, which is pretty self-explanatory. You guys just glue it in with E6000. and leave it overnight. So I won't be assembling his head to his body today, but I will be putting together his body. So that'll be next. I'll be putting together his body and attaching all his limbs, but not his head. His head will just stay and dry. So, I have changed locations. I am inside my closet because I want to show you guys and really be able to explain building the body, at least specifically going to be for a bigger doll like Joseph. So, he's already heavy just as a blank kit. So I'm not going to fill him how I usually would a smaller baby. So for his limbs, for example, I'm only going to fill them up to his elbows and his knees. In a smaller doll, like a newborn size doll, I would fill up them to like about their shoulder, almost all the way up, probably like 3/4 of the way up. He's only getting filled halfway. So the body I bought for my Joseph is body 300 from Bountiful Baby. So it's their older body, so it doesn't have the coverings. So what I did is I cut out some from like cardstock to make my own coverings so that the fillings for the limbs don't spill around in the body. So if it gets loose, it won't go into the body. So I'll show you what I mean. It's very weird, but I've done this before with this body, and it works out really well because this was the body that was on sale. None of the newer bodies were on sale. So first, what I do is I tend to get a little bag made out of a stocking. So I'll cut off some stocking for myself. And basically I fill this up and I put it in the butt. So the butt is a little weighted. So that's the only part I'll weight in him. But if he, again, was a smaller baby, I would also have a little bag of glass beads at the top or in the chest area. But for him, he's going to be so heavy. So I'm just going to do his bum. His little butt area is going to be weighted with this little stocking full of glass beads. So if I could get this open, that'd be great. There we go. So it's just like one of those. This is a kid's stocking from Walmart. Really, it was on sale. It was super cheap. I think it was like $1 per pack. So I have my glass beads. It's beside me in a box. So I'm scooping out into this little cup and then pouring them into the stocking. And I don't have a formula for how I weight these little bags. I just kind of feel how heavy they are and decide if I want more or less. So you see I'm filling it up. Sorry again that I'm in my dark closet. But I thought it was more important that you heard my voice explaining what I'm doing. So I think this bag is as full as I want it. So it's about palm size, a little bigger, bag of glass beads. So I'll tie this off at the top, and then I'm going to double it up just to keep those tiny, tiny glass beads inside the stocking. So I've doubled it up. Sometimes if I have enough stocking left over, which I think I do, I'll even triple it up. So I'll tie this off again, and then I should be able to triple it up. You always want to use something like glass beads, not sand, because sand will, if sand gets wet, it will get moldy and you'll have a ruined doll. So always use something like new glass beads, or some people use poly pellets, but that doesn't give you as much weight. Some people I've seen use what are those things called? They're called victory pellets. They're what's inside of bean bags and stuff like that. So I'm making a tunnel inside the body so that I can get this down into the center of the butt. Get it down there to the center of the butt area. This I do like this body enough because it's gathered, unlike the original Bountiful Baby bodies were not gathered like this at the butt or at the chest, so it was a weird shape. But these are still a nice option, and these are the usual ones that go on sale is the Body 300 type ones. But they do have newer ones, like I said, that actually have coverings right here where these holes are. They'll have coverings on made out of cloth so that you don't have to glue the little circles like I'm going to do for this body. So, I feel confident that it's pretty deep down in there, but I guess I could make it a little deeper down towards the bottom. Yeah, there we go. That's much better. So I'll continue to stuff up his torso area, and then I'll go grab his legs and put on his legs first, and then put on his arms. So this body comes with cloth strings. However, I took the strings out because I don't like the strings. So I'm gonna get zip ties as well when I get up. Okay, so I've grabbed the zip ties and I've grabbed his leg. I've stuffed the rest of the body, and I'm ready to add his legs on. So first, I'm gonna get one of the zip ties. Well, I'm gonna get all of the zip ties. Sorry, and thread them through the actual pockets where they go, where the strings were. And you have to get zip ties that are super, super thin so they can fit in those little pockets. And you would probably want to get long ones like these. These are 14 inches long and they're ultra thin. Just so you have a lot of wiggle room to make a mistake and cut them down. So I've got the zip ties threaded through the little pockets where they go. And now I'm basically ready to fill his legs, and I'll just show you his legs because his arms, they're pretty much the same thing as the legs. It's just, on their arms. So I'm just going to start shoveling in basically just loads and loads of glass beads until they get to his knee. And then I'll fill the rest with polyfill. The rest of his leg will be stuffed tight with polyfill. So with glass beads, you want to make sure you work them down into the toes. Otherwise, you'll have like an empty foot and like a weird section of really tight glass beads. But you want to work them down into those toes. So I'm squeezing his foot to make sure that I get them down, all the glass beads down to his toes. Same thing for his fingers. You want to make sure you work the glass beads into his fingers. I'm gonna need some more glass beads soon, especially after him, because I haven't even weighted the head yet. So working those glass beads down, and then I'll repeat the process on the second leg and the rest of the limbs. Work that down. And now I'm going to stuff the rest with polyfill. Now that you see that I've stuffed his leg, all I'm going to do now is just glue on the little circle to keep everything in, and then attach it with the zip ties, which I'll show you too. But I'm just going to glue this on, let that dry for a second, and while this is drying, I'll work on the second leg and then keep going with the rest of the limbs. So it'll keep everything in. So now that the circles are stuck on and have dried long enough, I'm just going to be putting his leg into the socket that it goes into. This is his left leg. Sorry, I had to think about directions there for a second. So I put his leg, move up so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm putting his leg into the socket, making sure to hide that part, that the little neck part of the leg, which I will explain by pointing to it on the next leg. But then I'm going to go ahead and start pulling this zip tie close around the leg. And that's basically making sure it's tight enough that the leg won't pull off, but you can still move the leg. That's the key. It's hard to balance that. I'm pulling out some excess fluff that was coming out. So, I'm pretty happy with how secure this leg is. So you see how fast that was? And then I'm going to do the second leg. So this is the little lip part that I was talking about. You want to make sure that's inside the body, because that's how it's supposed to go, inside the body. Trying to make sure this is stuck on there properly, the little circle. I think I'll have to leave that for a little bit longer, but you get the gist. So that's how you assemble the body. And then tomorrow morning, when his head is dry, when the magnet is set, is when I'll put on his head. So I'll show you guys that as well tomorrow morning. Alright, so this concludes this little section of the video. For you, it will jump right to tomorrow morning, but for me, this is good night for me. So, alright, guys, bye. Alright, we have made it to my last step, which is just going to be attaching his head. I'm going to do it only with with the string tie for now, because I just ordered his hair, so that'll be here in a couple of days, so there's no point of zip tying his head on. So basically, I'm just going to tie his head on, and he'll be complete. The rest of today, I'm going to strip and restart my Darren, because I hate the way he turned out. His skin tone is so bad. So I'm going to restart him, and then he will be for sale when I finish him. And that'll only probably take me to the end of the week, because he's a small kit. So he will be available. I'll be rooting him, though, because he's a boo-boo baby regardless, because his head melted in the oven. I think I mentioned this in a previous video. So Joseph is complete. I'll fill his head with polyfill and a little tiny bag of glass beads, and then I'm going to attach it to his body. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you appreciate it. I'm sorry for the quality of the video. I will be getting a good camera eventually. As you can see, his magnet's completely set, so he's ready to be attached. And I'll put some pictures up on my Instagram of him completely finished, with the blank version of him next to it. Bye, you guys.